This video is going to be about Black Widow's range build. So today I'm going to be going over the gear and both the artifacts on the bottom and on the top. So let's get right into it. So for the first gear piece I have a Flauntless Pulse Gloves. So it's going to be Precision 53, Valor 51. So in my opinion, I don't think the first two gear perks really matter that much because again, this is going to be a range build and you're not really going to be meleeing that much. But what really matters and what really helps you along the way with those villain sectors and those high level challenge 4 missions is going to be the Shadow Ops Flare. Increases critical attack damage by 135% for all Shadow Ops attacks. That's going to bring in 6-digit numbers when you apply status effects and apply certain skills onto a boss. You will be doing over 140k through, let's say, 530k. And I have a video of it, to prove this. It really does a lot of damage. She is just the most broken character in this game. I know some people might say Thor, but she just really cleans out the boss like that. Now moving on to the second piece would be the proficient buff rounds. Pretty much you're going to be proccing the damage buff just by doing range power attacks, normally playing the game. It also has high caliber shots that deal plasma damage to help you with the battery effect. Now with the third gear perk, I'm not really okay with it. I would rather have the heavyweight breaker that's on this piece right here, or the expert buff, which is chance defeating an enemy with a ranged critical attack grants a damage buff. That's basically the expert buff. This one is expert protection, but the expert buff is just you switch around the defense buff with the damage buff. So regarding which one people think is better, the way I really think it is when you're doing a boss, the heavyweight breaker is far more better. When you're doing mobs and hives, like the floors, the expert buff is better. So therefore, I think the heavyweight breaker is much more better. So because I want that extra damage. Now with the attributes, I'm not really okay with. I mean, it's alright. Precision 44, resilience 42, resolve 37. I mean, I wish they had a reroll system. I would reroll the resilience and resolve for intensity and valor, but hopefully they release that soon. Now moving on to the next piece is going to be Valor 58 and Precision 50 for a reflective invulnerability vest. Again, good stats, but the gear perks, not really what I want. The gear perks that you want are going to be the Nimble Spark or the Nimble Buff. But mostly what you want is the Nimble Spark. It's because you're going to want to get that invisibility really quick. You're going to want to just not let you don't want to be shot at all, because again, pretty sure at this point everybody knows that once you could be one shotted in this game just like that. So with the bottom two perks, in my opinion, I would probably say Courageous Guard, which is on the bottom, and Courageous Protection, because I know people say that the very bottom being one of the perks would be spin resistance, but if you look at it this way, right, there aren't really that much spinning enemies in the game. There's only like two, if you would say, you know, and the way the enemy loads up when it's about to spin, it's kind of obvious. All you have to do is just move out the way, you know. I mean, you're not really gonna be in the way because again, most of the enemies they're very rangy. You got like three people sniping you with those robots, the red robots. You have them beaming you with there's energy weapons. You got the peacekeepers just they have those rockets that follow you around and take away like 80% your health, right? So let's say someone attacks you from behind, the red robot beams you from behind, you lose 80% of your health. Now, if you think about it, the courageous guard kicks in, right? Because you're basically at 20, you're basically, below 25% health. Along with that, with maybe a 57.5% chance when critically injured to grant a defense buff. If you think about it, if you're getting hit by the little typical enemies where they have like that energy machine gun thing and you get hit once, you're not really taking that much damage if you think about it. That way you can, like, while you're running for a health pack, right, you can mitigate the damage on your way to heal yourself, you know. I know they have health perks, but really this is mainly a damage build, all damage build. So moving on to the fourth perk is gonna be powerful blitz belt. So with this one is gonna be 18.8% increased damage from power attacks. Added that with what I said about this gear piece right here and the gear perk that's equipped onto the third perk right here is gonna be almost 30% increased damage from your power attacks. And that is very good. I'm like, imagine that's like how much? Like, I would say like maybe an extra 100 precision added on top of what you already have. I don't know. I mean, if you guys know the statistics, let me know. So regarding the bottom two perks, I would say the bottom two perks on this gear piece compared to the one that I have equipped onto the right are way better. I would rather have support spark and heroic assistance than I would have critical buff and heroic assault. That being because you would want to have your heroics back as quickly as possible, and the invisibility is basically that, like, that it's crazy, like the skills that have to do with the invisibility add more damage. You do even more critical attack chance, you do more damage overall. It's just like what's not to ask for. Now, moving on to the minor artifacts, right? So I do have intensity by 37. I see that it scales to the number. So like, say if you have like 90 intensity, so it's like it would be 90% status stun meter damage, but I think this is good enough. I mean, if it was 40, that would have been perfect. It would have been perfect. 40 intensity and then like the rest of being the way it is, perfect. As for the gear perks, they're not the best. I would, again, or rather have heavyweight breaker along with heroic assistance. That is the god roll of minor artifacts to have on both artifacts, which I'm gonna get to this one right here, which is a triple valor 37 28 37. So this one has heroic assault and dauntless impulse. So this one, again, this build is helping me get my assault heroic charge rate, which I don't mind, because when you do Widow's Bite, again, since you have an opposite effect pistol, you're doing the battery effect damage, and that's just a lot of damage you're putting down. It's just unbelievable. Now with the major artifact is gonna be the Tactigon, due to because I don't really have the ring, because I have not advanced on the campaign that much. As for the book, I don't think that's good. Apparently from what people are saying. I think the ring and the Tactigon are the top tier major artifacts in this game currently. But if you're going for, constant orbs, I would probably say the ring. And if you're going for damage wise, take the Tactigon. Okay, so now I'm going to be going over the Black Widow's specialty for this video. I'm pretty sure everybody should already have the primary down, so let's get right into it. So with the first specialization is going to be Shadow Gifts, because due to the fact that this specialization is currently bugged, so every time you kill an enemy while you're invisible, it's a 100% chance to drop. It's really broken as of this point of the game. With the other two specializations, I would probably say Night Terror would be the one to go with if Shadow Gifts wasn't the way it was. Now, with the next specialization is going to be Eclipse. I haven't really put much thought into what should I go with on this specialization, but I guess you can go with whatever. Mortal Cloak seems good. I went with Eclipse because I do play with people, and you don't really tend to be that close to people, so I chose Eclipse. So now with Assault Heroic. So with Assault Heroic is going to be Taser Dart. The reason why it's going to be Taser Dart is because based on what my build is, let's say for instance you're going against a priority villain sector like Abomination. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to apply the status effect of shock first, and then you're going to want to apply the high caliber shot of plasma damage, or anything that's opposite of shock. So in turn you'll be doing battery damage, and that is how, along with the first gear piece I have with Shadow Ops Flare, and if you keep on having your intrinsic meter overcharged, you'll be able to do 6-digit numbers like 140,000 to 530,000 or so, depending on how much your intensity is, depending on how much your precision is, and of course your critical attack damage. So with the next specialization is going to be Lethal Bite, due to my build mainly being centered around the Assault Heroic recharge rate, which is currently at 37.2. This is going to get your Widow's Bite back much more faster. Now with the other perks, they're mainly for melee builds, such as the Super Static Dart and the Lightning Fist, as well as Invigorating Bite and Paralyzing Bite, which I don't see the point of using this because, again, you're not going to be going for takedowns and you're not going to be stunning that much. I would say Invigorating Bite would benefit out of mobs, so if you're making a build centered around mobs, Invigorating will be the one to go with. Now moving on to Ultimate Heroic ability is going to be the Galvanic Bite, due to, again, the Widow's Bite will do a lot of damage, as well as if you're applying, let's say you apply your plasma damage first, right? So the status damage is applied, and then you do your Widow's Bite. So since Widow's Bite is shock damage, you'll be able to do numbers from like 25k to even probably 40k, depending on what challenge level you are in. With the next specialization is going to be Power Grid. Now I know the duration of Ultimate Heroic ability will probably be around 30 to 35 seconds. With this specialization, it isn't really correct because it's actually more seconds. It's actually either 10 to 15 seconds. I'm not sure, but I know Reddit has the statistic on it. So with the other two, again, you're not going to be stunning, and the other specialization, I don't really see a point in getting Indomitable Force because you're going to be mainly trying to get as much damage down as possible. Okay, so now I'm going to be going over Black Widow's Mastery. So for the first specialization is going to be Overcharge Critical. Second is going to be Intrinsic Charge. Then the third is going to be Heroic Overcharge. So now I just want to say something about Shadow Ops meter and the special ops, as what you call the special ops meter. So when it's overcharged, right, which is basically what you want to do, and you want to maintain it that way. So this is basically the hardest part of playing Black Widow, and that's constantly attacking. I mean, you can miss maybe like a couple of seconds in between, but you can't miss like say like more than 7 seconds, because if you don't attack something in less than like 5 or 7 seconds, you're gonna lose your Shadow West meter overcharge. So with the intrinsic meter, right, on Black Widow, which is basically her bread and butter because of how the first gear of her piece works, right, with the Shadow Up Flare when it increases critical attack damage by 135% for all Shadow Up attacks. So you're gonna want to maintain your intrinsic meter overcharge at all times. So with the first one, of course, you're gonna want to have as much critical attack damage. So this is gonna help you do more damage. The second specialization is gonna help you maintain your Shadow Ops meter. Then the third is gonna help you get your heroics back faster. So what the second row is gonna be cluster grenade, thermite grenades, and extended magazines. So with this one, I wouldn't really count grenades that much because you're not going to be using them as much, and they're really not that effective. I try to mix and match the status damage, like say for instance you have maybe shock damage, like it really doesn't work well because again the enemies, they move around a lot and they move very fast. So with the grenades, I probably would go with anything, but the best I chose was cluster and thermite grenades. Now with the third specialization under pistol, it's going to be extended magazines due to the low count of the high caliber shots. Now with this, I mean, if you're a good shot or a bad shot, you can go with this. But if you're a really bad shot, I would probably go with fast reload if you can't hit your targets, which is kind of understandable because the aiming in this game is really clunky. Like the aim assist is it's a little bit too strong, as in when your crosshairs is about to go over the enemy, when you're about to put your crosshairs on the enemy, right? It the slowdown, as they call it on COD, Call of Duty, it's a little bit too strong. Like even by going maybe half a feet away, it still makes the aiming a little bit clunky. Even when the enemies cross each other, it's you can actually feel how heavy it is. I mean, you can put your sensitivity all the way up and maybe turn aim assist off, but it it's not gonna help. But yeah, extended magazine is the way to go with. Another thing to note, the stick drift in this game is kind of bad, so I would probably go with extended magazines regardless of anything. So moving on to invisibility, which is, your veil of shadows. So I went with invisible ranged, extended invisibility, and critical damage. Now, this specialization has to be the best out of the three because she doesn't really need proficiency, which pretty much increases your perk chance and your critical attack chance because naturally she already has a lot of critical attack chance even when you fill your shadow ups meter. So critical damage is the way to go. Now with extended invisibility, you're gonna want to stay. You're gonna want to keep your Village Shadows up at all times. Now you can go with invisible recharge if you're comfortable with that, but I rather have more seconds due to it being 10 seconds by default. I'm not sure because some of the stats or specializations on Black Widow are not correct, such as the power surge where it increases by 4 seconds when it's actually like maybe like 10 to 12 seconds, but this one is best. Now with the first specialization is going to be invisible range because of course again it's a range build. You don't need that much status damage because if you're maybe over 37 it's good enough. But if you have 40 then you definitely don't need status damage. And you're not going to be stunning because this is not really a melee build and you're not going to be doing that much takedowns. Now moving on to utility is going to be the heroic takedown mastery. Now with this one should be universal across all your heroes because I find this to be the most beneficial because even though it's not a melee build, the best to go with is getting your heroics back. I don't think having intrinsic orbs are going to help, and as well as regen packs even though there are health containers around, so you're going to want to get your heroics back faster. So now with the second specialization is going to be range damage. Because again, already you don't need stun, and as for headshots, it's going to be hard to get headshots when the enemy moves around a lot and there's a lot of this is kind of chaotic at times. So it's like, should you shoot this enemy or should you shoot that enemy? Should you shoot the weakest enemy or should you take out the strongest enemy? It's like it's situational, but the best to go with would be range damage. Now with the third specialization is going to be melee charge. That being because let's just say if you're a little bit away from getting your Veil of Shadows back, this would be good. Let's just say there's an enemy nearby you and you do a couple of light attacks or maybe heavy attacks, you can get your heroics back faster. The other two, they're mainly around melee, because of course a light combo finisher is just going to count when you do, 3 triangle inputs or maybe like triangle, 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 then square, which is pretty much a heavy combo finisher. Same with you're not going to be juggling people in the air. So again, these two aren't going to be beneficial. So the following clips are going to be gameplay and examples of this build, so please enjoy.
Abomination clone is defeated. Well done, Avengers.
Okay, sorry if this sounds a little too unprofessional, but that was intense. Clone abominations are no joke. You all...
Clowns. Again.
Don't worry. I'll help you change it back.
Head for the location on your HUD. These enemies must be defeated.
This is it! Guardians of Asgard! Pull the Bifrost!
Try to keep up. Yes, I do, bud.
Don't look directly at the beam, kid!
Every member of the elite team must be defeated.
Here's an energy boost.
One of their agents is down. Excellent. Another agent down. Well done. That squad member has been neutralized.
This might hurt. Good night.
Another enemy defeated.
Uh-oh! Not doing so hot!
The team are no longer a threat. An elite AIM team is close by and on alert. Updating your HUD.
Let's take him out. Bag one.
An elite AIM team is close by and on alert. Updating your HUD.
What a waste. Bye for now.
Well done, all.
Every member of the elite team must be defeated.
Bye. Run lightly and carry a big stick.
Their agent is down.
This might hurt.
Another enemy defeated. The team are no longer a threat.
Let's take him out. Let's dance. Try to keep up. Here's an energy boost.
An enemy is down.
Nice.
Another enemy defeated.
Time for the big gun!
Excellent. Another agent down. Well done. That squad member has been neutralized. The team are no longer a threat.